Joining a gym for the first time can be incredibly off-putting. Walking onto that gym floor for the first time and thinking that everybody else knows what they're doing except for you, that's incredibly intimidating. And even if you have been a gym member for quite a while, but you're going back for the first time or it's not really been working out for you up until now, how can you change things going forward so that things actually work out for you this time, even if that means going to another gym? That's what we're going to be discussing in today's video, so let's pull up a chair and talk it through. Hey there, welcome back, or if it's your first time on the channel, just welcome. This is the latest video in a series of videos of the Gym Paradox, the pros and cons of joining a gym. A series of videos that have been put out in conjunction with an original piece of content that was put up on DCSfit.com a little while ago. And as always, I will leave a link in the description down below to that original article, and you can go and check it out if you wish. But while you're down there, if you wouldn't mind giving this video a like, and if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, and you can always click that notification bell to get notifications as soon as videos like this go up on the channel, or any of the other content that we're going to be putting out in the future. So in today's video, we're going to be talking about joining a gym for the first time. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that this is your first ever gym. It just might be that this is the first time you've decided to take it seriously, and you're not going to dive headfirst into the first gym that you see and just hope that it pans out for you and then give up a month down the line. Now, the first thing about it is intimidation. Walking into a gym floor for the first time is intimidating for everyone. Even if it's a brand new gym, but you're used to going to another gym, you walk into a brand new gym, walking onto that gym for the floor for the first time, until you become acclimatized to how the place runs, the feel of the place, the general vibe of the place, how the other people are within there. You don't know what you're going to be getting when you walk into a place like that. Are you going to be walking up to people who are very guarded about what they're doing? Are you going to be finding a lot of very, very friendly people, maybe overly friendly people? It could be very uncomfortable, and until you know what kind of a position you're in, it's always going to be a little bit nerve-wracking. Sometimes that only takes 5-10 minutes to go over. Sometimes it can take 2 or 3 sessions to go over, but everybody gets over it eventually. Now, if your perception of what a gym is the sort of traditional Arnold type gyms, the Arnold Schwarzenegger Gold's Gym type sweat boxes that you would have seen in Pumping Iron if you've seen that movie, then not many of them exist anymore. There's some still do, but if that's what you're looking for, you will be able to find one if you look hard enough. But that's not commonly what a gym looks like. But you might also think that, well, most gyms are more sort of commercial facilities that have got lots of cardio equipment, lots of machines and that kind of thing, look very modern. And the picture that might come in your head is more the Globo Gym from Dodgeball. And yeah, that's probably a little more in keeping with the style of the gym setup. But what that gives you the impression of is that everyone in there is incredibly fit and looks good, and is, almost model material. And if that's not you, and you're going to be walking in thinking, well, I want to work on myself, but I don't want to be in amongst all of that because everybody's going to stare at me, that's not what happens either. Most gyms have got a big mix of people when you walk in there, for all ranges, and chances are, if it's your first day, it's probably somebody else's first day too, or there'll be 2 or 3 people that only joined yesterday or the day before. There's going to be someone else that's new on the gym floor, because the churn rate in most big gyms like that, big commercial leisure gyms, is quite high. The people you might zone in on are the ones that look fit and look healthy and look like they really know what they're doing. But if you really pay attention, you'll find that there's some other people that are getting on with it potentially, and they're trying to mask the fact that they're a bit nervous too, but they don't really know what they're doing either. So you're never going to be alone. So to get the most out of a gym when you first join, the main thing you can do is arm yourself with a purpose. And I've discussed this a little in previous videos, so if you want to go back and check them out if you haven't already, there's a bit more content on this subject in some of the older videos. But the main thing here is to know why you're joining a gym. Keep in mind, I've said this many, many times, a gym is nothing more than a tool. It is there in order to facilitate your moving forward. So there must be a reason why you decided that a gym is the thing that's going to help you. If you've just randomly plucked the idea that you want to get fitter, you want to lose some weight, and that you think, well, people join gyms when they want to do that, and you've gone and joined the nearest gym, you're setting yourself up for a fall immediately. If you can take the time to step back and really think to yourself, what is it I want to achieve? What is going to get in my way? What are the obstacles that are likely to occur that are going to hold me back? What do I need to overcome now? Not what do I need to overcome in 6 months' time. You can deal with that in 6 months' time. But what are your immediate limitations? And what tools are going to help you move forward? And as we discussed, I think in the last video, or the one before, it might be that your first protocol is not to join a gym at all. There might be something else you could be doing just now. It could be going to a mobility based class, it could be going to see a physio, it could be doing some yoga, it could be working on your breathing techniques, it could be working your sleep patterns, your water intake. All of these things could be a much higher priority. But assuming we've got to the point that you do actually want to join a gym, you've realized that a gym is the thing for you, make sure that your purpose is clear. What is it that you're trying to achieve? Is it that you're trying to lose weight? Now, I've got an article up on DCSfit.com called Lose Weight Fast. And if that is the thing that's gone into your head, that's what I want to do. I want to lose weight. I want to lose it fast. I'd urge you to go and read that article. In brief, if what you're doing is saying, I want to lose weight fast, you're approaching that from a very negative point of view. You're basically saying, this is what I don't want, rather than what I do want. You're saying you want to lose weight, so you don't want weight. That's not a positive attitude to be going forward with. It's not a destination for you. It's where do you want to get away from? You want to get away from having excess weight, rather than where do you want to be, which might be to be leaner. And that's a better goal to have, as you want to be leaner. Now, being leaner is a fairly vague goal to have. By saying I want to improve my body fat percentage. I want to drop my body fat percentage from wherever it's at just now. Like, say it was 20% at the moment. You want to get it from 20% and you want to get it down to 15% in the next 3 months. Something like that. That's a goal that has a tangible outcome to it. It's something you can measure, you can track, you can see whether or not you're moving towards that goal or not. Saying that you just want to lose fat is not ideal, because you could lose fat, you could starve yourself, and you could probably burn some fat. But if you're losing, for every 1 pound of fat you're losing, you're also burning off 2 pounds of muscle. That's not probably the goal that you're looking for either, because that's very unhealthy. It's not good for your long-term fat burning potential, but it's also not good for even things like your skeletal structure. If the less muscle you have pulling on your skeletal structure, the lower your bone density, and it's just incredibly unhealthy. And it's not something I'm going to go into great detail. The whole point is just that having a very precise goal, and not just having one that you pluck out of the air, say, I want to lose some weight, I want to get a bit stronger. These things don't mean anything. And if you put the word just in front of it, you're really off to a loser, because you're trying to downplay the significance of the difficulty. I just want to lose a couple of pounds. Well, if it's that easy, you would have done it by now. And as I've said before, if you've got limitations that you need to overcome, and those limitations are things like whether it be confidence, it might just be confidence of walking onto a gym floor. That's the thing that you have to overcome. Then it would be worth your while looking around several gyms to make sure that you feel that you've found the place that you are going to be the most confident in. Have you found the place that you feel like, I could walk into this gym floor and feel pretty good about it? Or do you walk in for your tour and think, if I was on my own here, I would be terrified? And if you start convincing yourself, but I'll push through, you probably won't. To go over that, you might end up thinking, well, I'm just going to join a class. But The problem there is if you go and join a class, is that fitting in with the goal that you have armed yourself with before you walk through the door? Or are you literally just thinking, I need to do something? And because you need to do something and you feel intimidated on the gym floor, you've decided a class is the place for you. All of these things are basically moving you away from your purpose, the purpose that you set out before you started. So it's worth having that very well defined so you can continually come back to it and make sure that you are on the right path and you're making choices that are moving you towards that goal. If you don't do that, if you're not clear on what that purpose is, it's very easy to deviate off the path, and it can take a long time to notice that you've strayed off down a side alley somewhere, and now you've hit a dead end and you don't know where you're going, and you have to try and find your way back or just start again. Now, again, when it comes to choosing a gym for the first time, if you've chosen it based on its location, you've possibly made a mistake right from the get go. Yes, it has to fit into your life, and there is a balancing act here, because finding somewhere that is perfect for you, but you're never going to go to it because you're going to use the location as the reason not to be going, that's not helpful either. So you do have to find that balancing act. But if you're reviewing based on your purpose that you set out, and all the local gyms to you do not facilitate that purpose, and you've basically ticked them off your list as no, no, that's not the right place, but now you've gone to all the places locally and none of them work out for you, then you might be thinking, well, I'm not going to go any further afield than this because um, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to travel any further than this. So now you start trying to say, well, okay, maybe that one's not so bad. I'd suggest not to do that because it's not the right tool for you. It's just not right for you. You've already established that. So just trying to make it work because it's close is not ideal. Now you're either looking at, can you use something else? Can you train at home? Is there somewhere else you can train? Is there something else you could do? Or is there a compromise you can make to your schedule? So on that, it might be something like you had planned to train because you were enthused. You were going to train every weekday. You were going to be there Monday through Friday, and you were going to take the weekends off to recover. But you were going to be there 5 days a week for about an hour each time. And then you look at all these local gyms and none of them work out for you. If you went a little bit further afield, so you made it so that you were only looking at any somewhere within 5 miles of where you work or 5 miles of where you live or something like that. And you decide, no, I'm going to try a little further afield. And you find somewhere and it's perfect for you, but it's an extra 20 minutes travel time for you each time you go. So 10 minutes there, 10 minutes back, for example. Well, all that means then is if you can cut off one of your journeys each week, then suddenly you've saved the hour that you would have been in there, and you've lost, or well, you've saved the hour, but then you're trying to spread that hour, you're going to lose that across the other 4 days. It's better to be in a place that you feel comfortable, that has the right tools for what it is that you have set out as being your action points for going forward in the now, and take it from there. No one's saying that this has to be forever. You could find that you're going to that place and maybe that's enough to get you moving and it's going to get you to the point you need to be based on your current restrictions and your current frustrations. And once you're over certain hurdles, maybe in about 4 or 5 months' time, you feel like, okay, I've moved on from that now. Now I don't need it to be this place. Now one of the places that were local to me will actually do the job. So you can hand in your notice at the place that you're in and you can move. Although check out before you join that you don't have to stay there for a year or longer. Because whatever the policy is, remember you've signed up to a contract. So you should be forearmed as to what it is and be willing to honor that contract when you sign up. You're expecting something from them, then you should be expecting something from yourself to be able to live up to your side of the bargain. So you've found a gym and you've decided that you're going to be going as much as you possibly can because you really want to make the most out of it. So how often should you go? Well, we've already discussed the idea that you might have to compromise in this depending on the location of the gym. But the other thing is that the more you can train, This is a little contradictory, but the more you can train, the better. But that doesn't mean to say training in the wrong place is better because you can do it more often. The more you can train, the better, because you're going to be able to balance your recovery a little bit better from that. If you imagine a graph where the amount of time that you're training for, you've got your energy level, you walk in, and then it sort of comes along and it starts to drop. And it'll drop off slowly and then faster towards the end. And then so the longer you stay in, the more that graph is going to drop off. That's what you have to recover from. The reality is, what you're trying to do is push yourself down to the point where you can then, during your recovery period, fully recover in order to do it again. So if you push yourself down too low and then you come back again too quickly, then you're not going to have fully recovered and you start pushing yourself down too fast. But the reason why it's better, in my view, to be training more frequently is so that you can stop quicker, so you can make it shorter but more frequently. So if you were going to train for an hour every other day, what you might be better doing is training for 35 minutes every single day, if you can afford the time. Remember, you don't want to be adding stress to your life. You don't want to be adding stress because you've got more times that you have to travel to the gym or more times you have to shower. You definitely want to avoid stress wherever you possibly can. But if you want to know what is best, then frequently, consistently is better than throwing yourself at it and then having to recover for 2 days. If nothing else, it'll have a much lower impact on your day-to-day life. Because if you've ever done a big heavy leg day, or if you've heard of anyone who's done a big heavy leg day, quite often, if you really push it, you can barely walk the next day. And as a result of that, just going up and down a flight of stairs is then difficult. And if one of your goals is to burn fat, then the idea that you're not going to be able to do much for the rest of your time while you're recovering means you're not doing it. I mean, your body's still burning extra calories because it's working on repairing the muscle. But if you're now more sedentary as a result of it because you don't want to go up a flight of stairs and you don't want to get out your chair just to do things, you're going to burn less as a result of it. Plus, if you are a bit more fatigued, then your day-to-day life might suffer, your work might suffer, your ability to focus might go because you're just fatigued. Your body is just working so hard on recovering from this onslaught that you've put it through that your ability to just focus on day-to-day life is going to drop off. Ultimately, though, there is no perfect solution. It doesn't matter what you read. Yes, there's been lots of studies done on how long you should train for, that you should be doing to this level of intensity. You should be training to this number of reps. You should be looking at this kind of volume. It doesn't matter what it says because all of these things are generally done in very controlled conditions. You don't live in controlled conditions. A lot of it is going to be based on how much sleep did you get last night? How stressed were you today at work before you came to the gym? Or how stressed are you about what's about to happen at the gym? What have you eaten today? Have your eating habits been good? Are you very well hydrated? All of these kind of things can affect your performance. And learning to take the feedback from yourself. How do you feel? Do you feel you've pushed yourself hard enough compared to how long it's going to be before you're going to train again? All of these things are going to factor into it. So being a little bit more fluid with how you approach things is always going to work out better. But the idea of saying that you have to train 3 times a week, 5 times a week, every day, there's no have to. There is just what is best for you based on your current circumstances. And that's going to take a little bit of working out on your part and a little bit of trial and error, probably. Because unless you've got somebody really coaching you through it and watching you, you're going to have to take some time to start listening to your own body. So don't think that there is an exact answer to that. Just ensure that whatever you're doing is not putting an undue stress on you, because that stress is going to hold you back more than any level of training is going to overcome. So as well as working out how frequently you should train, you also need to work out what you're going to do when you walk onto the gym floor. And therefore, it's important to have a plan from day one. Now, where you get that plan from is going to be, again, up to you, because you're in the driving seat here. You can decide where you're taking your information from. But what I would advise that you do not do is just take it because your friend says, "This is what I do." You look at them and think, "Well, you're fit, so I need to follow you." Or pick up a magazine and read the magazine and think, "Hey, they're in good shape, so they must know what they're talking about. I'm going to follow them." Or even walking into a gym floor and, as I've said before, asking for an induction program from a fitness instructor and assuming that they know exactly what to give you as the perfect workout for you, because it's never going to be the case. They don't know you. The people in the magazines don't know you. And even your friends, they don't know what your limitations are. They just know what worked for them. You're going to have to work this out for yourself to a large degree. Now, you can get help and guidance along the way, and whether that be looking at something in a magazine or online and just trying to work out, well, does this cover what I need to cover? Because you've done your thing right at the start. I said all the way at the beginning of this video is having a plan of action, making sure you know what it is that you want to cover next. That's the important part. It doesn't matter about your long term goal. That's your aspiration thing. That's the thing that's going to keep you driving and keep you going. But what is it you need to do next? Is it that you need to work on the shoulder mobility, your hip mobility, your core strength? Is it you need to connect more with your body and you want to be able to get that mind muscle connection? Because when you go to do press ups or bench pressing or something, it's all arms. And what you really need to do is develop that mind muscle connection with your pecs. At least if you know what it is you're trying to work on, you're not going to go in and say, well, I need to work on my mind muscle connection for my pecs. And then somebody says, yeah, okay, just do some dumbbell chest press. And you get your dumbbells and you just start pushing them with your arms. And you've done the reps. So you've done what was asked of you, but you're no further forward as a result of it. So trying to make sure that, again, you know what it is you want and then making that plan. So don't walk onto the gym floor with no plan whatsoever. What you're going in for today is to work on, using that example, your mind muscle connection in your pecs, and maybe you're going to be working on developing your upper back muscles or something like that. That's what you've decided you're working on that day, and you're going to work out a plan to walk onto the gym floor with it. Now, again, as with the time scales, being a little bit fluid on what your approach is going to be when you walk onto the gym floor is going to aid you a lot. Because if you walk on and you've got a program and it is written in ink, and that's, I'd suggest writing in pencil. Write it out yourself. Don't copy it. Don't print it out off the internet. Get a notepad and a pencil and scribble all out. And the reason I say pencil is because if you have to change something, you're more likely to feel that you can do it. But when it's written in ink, there's something psychological about ink. The permanence of it almost makes it feel like you can't change, or it becomes a more difficult thing to do. So work out your plan, make sure that you know exactly what it is that you want to be doing, but also have a backup. If you know what it is that you're trying to achieve, like say, for example, we'll go back to this mind muscle connection with the pecs. If you walk onto the gym floor and you thought, I'm going to do cable flies, and I'm going to be working on cable flies quite light, high-ish reps, and I'm going to be working on a fairly slow technique to make sure I'm fully engaging and I'm not using my arms, I'm using my pecs, and I'm really contracting across the pecs, not shoving my arms in or using my wrists or anything like that. And that's what I'm going to be doing today. And you walk in and somebody's using the cables, and there's only one. What you meant to do? You could wait, or you could have a backup. And that backup might be a set of floor flies, for example, from a dead stop. Or it could be that you're going to be using dumbbells and doing dumbbell flies. Or it could be that you're going to use resistance bands. Or it could be that you're going to do floor presses or presses from the pins. But when you move to this other one, keep in mind what the purpose was. It was to engage your mind muscle connection. So, for example, if you moved over to dumbbell flies, which is probably the one that most people would then shift to, because it's the most common of all the ones that I mentioned, you go and grab a set of dumbbells, and then you move your arms out, and maybe your elbow's completely bent, and that's kind of fine depending. But then when you press up, you extend your arms out and you push with your arms, and it's basically it's too easy for your pecs, and you use your arms to do all of it. You don't get a full stretch when you go back because of the angle that you put your hands at. You're not sort of rotating your upper arm the right way to get a full stretch. You're not fully contracting at the top, and you're not getting out of it what you wanted. Now, it's not like you're not exercising. It might feel hard. You might even feel a bit of a pump in your chest because you're using a weight that is causing your pec muscles to have to get involved. But you didn't do it. It was just the fact that you had a weight, and to overcome it, your body had to engage all these fibers. But your mind muscle connection wasn't necessarily improving as a result of it. So you see what I mean? The goal here is to try and walk in with a target for you. What is it that you're working on? If the idea was to rip your muscles to pieces and just tear them all down because you want them to grow back a bit bigger, then yes, having a heavy weight that you work in a slow eccentric and you're starting to rip the muscles apart through micro trauma, that's going to help. But if that wasn't your goal, then that's not what you should be doing. And also, even on that, if I just tangent onto that for a bit, if you're going in and saying, yep, yeah, I'm going to be working on, I just want to tear my muscles to bits. Last time I did a set of 6, and today I'm going to do a set of 7. And because that's progressive overload and that's what I'm doing, and you do your 7, and you feel like, yep, that's what I did. I did what I needed to do. But maybe that day you had a brilliant night's sleep the night before. Your nutrition's been on point. Your energy's up, and you could have actually have done 9 reps or 10 reps with that thing. Now you're not doing what you set out to do. The goal was to get as much trauma into the muscles as possible. You were going to try and rip them apart to failure. And that's where gauging your failure is more important. So understand what your strategy is, understand what your plan is. It can be a very simple plan. It could literally be that you just want to connect with each part of your body, and you work out a shoulder exercise, a chest exercise, an upper back exercise, a lats exercise, a quad dominant exercise, a hamstring dominant exercise, a calf dominant exercise, and a core exercise, and maybe a bicep and a tricep exercise. You just do one of each, and you're going to do maybe one exercise of each. You're going to do 2 sets of everything, and you're going to try and make sure that you're completely connected to each of them because you haven't done anything before. And they're all simple exercises, fairly basic exercises. Maybe they do use machines, but understand what it is that you're trying to do, why you're trying to do it, make a plan, write it in pencil so that you've got a backup if you cannot get onto the piece of equipment that you wanted to get onto, and then go in and go with the flow as best you can, knowing that you're not straying off the path, because that's the one thing you've got in your head that is fixed. Ultimately, the key is to have reasonable expectations before you walk through the door, know where you're going, and go with the flow. So I hope that's been helpful. I hope some of this has helped you feel a little bit more confident in what it is you're going to do going forward. There's a lot more you could do, but I don't want to make it too overwhelming for anyone watching this. But I hope at least it puts you in the right mindset to be able to say, actually, when I walk through the door, I'm not just going to say that I'm relying on my willpower. I'm going to join a gym and I'm going to make it work. That willpower is going to last for about a day or two. If you really want to make this work for you, then taking the time to make a serious plan. It doesn't have to take long. I'm not suggesting you sit down for a week and work this out and research thousands of pages worth of programs, or buy tons of magazines and ask hundreds of people. If you really want to make it simple, find a good coach and get them to guide you through it. If you can't afford a coach, or you just want to do it on your own, that's fine, but just take a little bit more time. Just set it aside and don't rush in. Sharpen the axe before you cut down the tree. That's the Abraham Lincoln thing. If you get 3 hours to cut down a tree, spend 2 hours sharpening an axe. Or the old adage of measure twice, cut once. Because otherwise you've bought yourself into a gym scenario, that a gym venue that is not ideal for you, and now you're swimming upstream the whole time. If you can get it right from day one, then everything's going on an awful lot easier for you. No one's saying that this is going to be easy. It's a challenge. Change is always a challenge. Change is always uncomfortable. But the more you're prepared for it, the easier it's going to be, and the more enjoyable it's going to be, and the more long-lasting it's going to be. So I really hope that helps. In the next video, we're going to be talking about what age you should join a gym. And this could be any end of the spectrum. We're going to be talking about how young can people be training for different levels, whether you should be lifting weights when you're 10, or should you be lifting weights when you're 90, for example, or can you be doing high intensity interval training at any of these ages? How best to approach that. So that's what we're going to be discussing in the next video. But until the next one, I hope you have an amazing week. Please take the time to sit back and really reflect. No matter where you are on your fitness journey right now, just take that time to reflect, because it will pay off in the long run. 5 minutes, 10 minutes here could save you hours going forward. So take the time, you are worth it. Until the next video, have a great time, stay awesome, and I will see you in the next one. Bye for now.